So, good afternoon, and we're all here. We are going to commence this meeting, and Beverly, if you don't mind, just moving forward with this portion of the LSP Board Regulations Committee.
We're not having a Regulations Committee meeting, Millie. That's part of the board meeting today. We're going straight into the continuing ed as the agenda indicated. We finished going through the regs. And if you look on the board meeting agenda, in the cover sheet, so we're going right into continue. Yep.
Absolutely. Okay. So continuing education committee meeting starts now.
Great. So I'll call it to order at 12:13. Continuing ed meeting. Welcome Paul and Craig. And for a roll call, I have Patrick, Paul, Craig, Greg, Deb, Millie, Kathy, Kirk, Jamie, and me. Did I miss anyone? And Chris, can you let us know who's on from the public, please?
Okay, we have Larry Feldman, Pat Levesque, Saskia Oosting, Stuart Mountain, and Wendy Windle.
Great, thank you. So any update on the draft meeting minutes, Beverly?
No, I don't have an update.
Okay.
Sorry.
Under old business, there's 3 that were tabled. We gave information back to Enviro Workshops to retool their request. I assume it's still with them.
Well, the question that I had, David, first of all, the board has to agree with the email that you sent. I sent out your last email in the February packet. So you struck some of the courses, and we have to approve denying those courses on the record.
I missed that, and I didn't realize that. And why do we have to? I mean, we tabled it, so why do we have to strike them?
Well, you struck some as being denied, right? That was my understanding, that you went through each of the.
Told them what wasn't relevant. We told them which wasn't relevant, and to reapply and not include those courses, those sections.
Okay, but those were denials. So you're saying I don't need to do anything with those. The board doesn't need to vote.
I didn't realize. I didn't think they need to be voted on as denials.
Well, I'm asking.
My opinion is no. 2 months ago, we discussed this, and the board decided what they needed to resubmit. I summarized it in an email, and I sent it to you. And then we discussed it last month, and I thought we were all set. So I didn't know it was still out there that something had to be approved and information hasn't gone back to them yet.
No,
so I guess they're still tabled.
Because I wanted to know whether or not the board was going to approve your recommendation that the courses on that list.
Can Chris pull up the email and we just vote on it now?
Sure.
Let's
I also had 2 of, yep. Chris, do you have available from last month? It was one email from David and all the Enviro classes. I also had a question while he's looking for that, David. I also had a question about whether or not your 3 and 4, you have indicated an assessment of learning for on demand, but there's only an assessment of learning for live webinars. the polling questions are for the on-demand, and so I needed some clarification on that.
For the Enviro ones that we're talking about?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought this was a done deal and already gone, so I don't know off the top of my head, but the polling questions are for the live webinars, and the questions, assessment and learning, are for on-demand.
Is this the email right here from you, David?
Yes. So those are that's what we had recommended to them. And then there was an attachment with subject matters that we didn't feel was relevant.
Right.
So can you click on all three of them and we just go through them and vote to?
Yeah, that would be great because, that would be great because, David, you did take the time to go through each course and strike the ones that you didn't think were relevant to hazardous waste site cleanup work in Massachusetts.
Can you scroll through it, or do people have this from last month? I don't.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I read it and I agree with your assessment, David.
Someone can make a motion and we can second it and we can vote on it, and people who didn't review it can just recuse themselves.
Okay, and then I had so that's as to question one, and then I had a question about number 2 on your recommendations. David, you asked that the course providers make one submittal, one document. And
Yes.
so do you mean, so what do you mean when you say one document? Should they submit one letter for each course?
No,
Or one okay.
One request instead of 3 requests, and they can roll all of the courses into the one request.
Okay, I got it. Thank you.
I believe that was the recommendation from last month. Is that correct, David?
2 months ago.
Okay.
And we definitely discussed the courses we felt were not relevant at the time. I make a motion to approve or to deny the course requests that are indicated in David's email, and
Okay.
ask for them to resubmit the other requests as indicated.
I'm sorry, Jamie, you were breaking up. Can you repeat that?
Making a motion to deny the courses that were indicated in David's email, and request that the provider resubmit the remaining courses in the format requested.
Second.
Okay, any discussion from the board or the public?
And so the passing score is 70%. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Does anybody else have a lot of background noise happening?
Yes.
Yes. Like someone's hammering or something, or?
Something.
Yeah, there is a lot of background noise. I don't know.
So I'll go through the roll call. A yes is in favor of the motion from Jamie. Patrick?
Approve? Yes.
Paul?
I didn't hear the background on this one.
You can just, you can recuse yourself from the vote.
Abstain, it would be abstain, I think.
Abstain, I'm sorry. Abstain.
Abstain, I'm sorry. Craig, you're next. Same
Abstain.
thing? Okay, Greg,
Yes.
Deb,
Yes.
Millie,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
Kirk,
Yes.
Jamie,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. Moving on to new business, there's 5 course approval requests. The first one from the LSPA, 2 technical credits, sampling of domestic wells. They're looking for approval for a live webinar and then also on demand. I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion from the board or the public? I'll go through the roll call. A yes is approving the course. Patrick,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
Craig,
Yes.
Greg,
Yes.
Deb,
Yes.
Billy,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
Kirk,
Yes.
Amy,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. The second course approval request, also from the LSPA, Bedrock Geology of Southern New England, 4 technical credits in June, live webinar, and also an on-demand format. I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion from the board or the public? I'll go through the roll call. A yes is approving. Patrick,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
Greg,
Yes.
Greg,
Yes.
Deb,
Yes.
Millie,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
Kirk,
Yes.
Jamie,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. The third approval request, LSPA, 1 hour technical credit. It was this month's membership meeting, live webinar format, and then also an on-demand format. I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion from the board or the public?
I just have a quick question. If any of the board members did attend this this particular live webinar and impressions?
I did attend it. I thought it was good.
I
thought it
did
was
also.
helpful.
It's very good.
Thank you. Appreciate the
Great.
feedback.
So I'll go through the roll call. A yes is approving. Patrick,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
Greg,
Yes.
Yes. Oh, sorry.
Right.
Sorry.
Greg is a yes. Deb,
Yes.
Billy,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
Kirk,
Yes.
Amy,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. The fourth approval request is NUMOA Brownsfield Summit in May, conference. So they're looking for approval for 50% of the time, which is what we do for conferences. 0.75 CEUs on the first day and 3.5 CEUs on the second day. And for a total of 7.25 for people attend both. I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion from the public or board? Yes is approving. I'll go through the roll call. Patrick,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes for me.
Craig,
Yes.
Greg,
Yes.
Deb,
Yes.
Billy,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
Kirk,
Yes.
Yes.
Jamie,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. The last one, focus remediation seminars, 4 virtual webinars, 2.5 hours each. They're going to have 18 questions per event for assessment of learning and to keep track of attendance. They're in May through July. Make a motion to approve all 4 as individual seminars.
Second.
Any discussion from the public or board? So a yes is approving the 4 as individual virtual webinars. Patrick,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
Greg,
Yes.
Greg,
Yes.
Deb,
Yes.
Billy,
I'm a yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
Kirk,
Yes.
Jamie,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. So that's the end of new business course approval requests. Our next virtual meeting is April 26th. And I have a question. What about thinking about in-person board meetings at some point in the near future?
Excuse me, the Mass DEP offices are not yet open to the public. And once that happens, we'll be able to go back to in-person meetings.
Do they have a time frame?
No. I know a lot of folks are back, but we're not back. And until they open the offices to the public, we can't have meetings. So not in, Mass DEP space.
So
Okay, so they're open.
I just have a fine-tuned correction to that, which is the foyers are open, but not just for drop-off purposes, not necessarily to congregate.
No, yeah, Millie, the reception desks are open, but there's nothing else is open to the public. So there's no way we can have meetings until the full meeting, the full building is open.
Yep, I'm not disputing that, just that fine-tuned piece there. You will see that people can come in, drop off, and leave, not necessarily to congregate. Thank you.
Well, I look forward to in-person meetings. I'm getting sick of the virtual meetings, so hopefully that happens soon. The Worcester CRO office is a great location for a public meeting, lots of space. I'm ending the continuing ed meeting at 12:31.
Thank you.
All right. I guess I will call to order the continuing ed, or excuse me, the Professional Conduct Committee meeting, 12:31. I understand there is not an update on the draft meeting minutes this time. So we'll move on to old business. Beverly, when you're ready to give your report. Oh, actually, I did have one question as well. You had indicated, Beverly, that you were going to start circulating the matrix again that had some of the latest updates on it. I think that most of the board members found that pretty helpful to remind themselves of where everything stood. Is that something you'll be doing again soon?
As soon as I get some help, Jamie. I need help.
Okay.
I don't know what else to say. I understand that is the most useful tool, but I'm just overwhelmed with everything else. I'm doing my
Understood.
best. I'm doing my best.
Well, then, in that case, when you're ready to give your report on the CRTs, that would be great.
Yep. 05C will be discussed in executive session today. 08C will be discussed in executive session today. I have no updates on 18C01 or 18C02. 20C01 and 20C02 will be discussed in executive session today, and I have no updates on 20C04 or 21C01.
All right. Well, that was succinct. Is there any other new business to discuss?
No, I have none.
All right. Well, it's to be continued in executive session then. Next meeting is April 26th, and we'll adjourn the Professional Conduct Committee.
Thank you, Jamie.
If people are still having the background noise, maybe people can mute until you're going to talk, and maybe that will solve it. Oh, there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great work, David. Right, so I'd like to welcome everybody to this March LSP board meeting, and I'm calling this meeting to order at 12:34 p.m. First, and most important, I'd like to formally welcome Craig Ellis and Paul McKinley to this board. Thank you for your expression of interest as well as service to the Commonwealth Hazardous Waste Cleanup Professionals Licensing Board. Delighted to have you. I hope you will find it as enriching as I do and others do. And thank you again for your service to this board again and the professional community as a whole. Really appreciate it. Any additional comments? I'd like to welcome board members or members of the public to comment on this announcement before we identify any other announcements that warrant discussion. So as a whole, welcome, Paul and Craig.
Thank you
Any
so
other
much.
announcements that need to be identified at this moment? Beverly, others? Hearing none?
No.
Okay, so we're going to move into the agenda, addition, deletions, or other changes to the draft agenda. I just wanted to note that I don't believe that in the packet we actually had the renewal dockets. So if anyone was looking for them, I did not find them, and I think they were not included.
Well, Millie, I told you they weren't included in the email. So I don't know what happened, board members. Barbara is out, Barbara Weishar, our program coordinator, is out of the office today. So I couldn't find out whether or not there's no docket or she forgot to add it into the packet. So I'll find out what happened with that. And in the meantime, I'll work with Chris Borges and EDEP to make sure that no one is locked out because of the renewal docket. And if there are any issues, we'll handle them, but it can wait until next month if there was. But I like I said, I'm not sure that there was a docket because I emailed Barbara, and even though she's out of the office, she indicated there is no docket, but I don't know what that means. So I apologize. We'll sort it out.
Perfectly fine. I just wanted to note that in connection with agenda item number 5A. And so with that, any other additions, deletions, or changes to this draft agenda before we all agree that this will become the agenda for today? Hearing none, we will be working off this agenda. So with regard to the virtual draft meeting minutes, June 2020, February 2022, there's no update from Beverly, so we will wait for next month. we are going to be skipping 5A, any kind of potential vote on renewal dockets, and move forward with 5B, application review panels. So Beverly, if you could please provide the board with a report on ARP number 324.
Yes, ARP number 324 is scheduled for March 17th. And that's the limited application of Ms. Oosting. So we've got that scheduled. We'll get it done and we'll have a review for the April meeting.
Okay, great. Thank you for that. So
You're welcome.
let's then, with that information, move forward to number 6, other licensing related matters. If Beverly could provide us with an update.
Yeah, it's the numbers are at 458. There are currently 2 LSPs, pardon me, who are on inactive status. And that's it for now on those issues.
Great. So why don't we then
I
move
mean,
forward with,
I'm sorry, Millie, could I just interrupt you? I'm sorry, to make one other comment about the active number. I want to just emphasize that it fluctuates due to, and this will become a little clearer when I talk about item 11 on the board meeting agenda, but the number kind of fluctuates based on who has paid their fees.
okay.
Thank you.
Mhm. Okay, petitions for waivers. So as a board, we have seen an increase in the number of waiver petitions, and reflecting upon this topic, I'd like to invite Beverly to give her perspective and any of the board members on this very specific item, petitions for waiver.
Well, I mean, the only thing I can say is that I agree with you, Millie. There has been an uptick in petitions for waiver, and it's precipitated by a lot of different factors, but we didn't have this many petitions for waiver in the middle of COVID. So coming out of COVID, it's kind of surprising to see that there's still a number of petitions for waiver, primarily for failure to, obtain credit in some cases, as well as unpaid fees. So I don't know. I mean, you're correct in indicating that there have been more of them.
Yeah, I'm happy you placed this in the agenda for today's discussion. Just to kind of reflect on the last few meetings that we've had. It's been extremely active on this topic, and just for us to think about any lessons learned. And I believe as a board, you, Beverly, as the executive director, you've really tried really hard to make sure that people are provided with notice. I'm just imploring for licensed site professionals to continue to check your mail, to continue to play an active role, proactive role. I know many of you all do. The majority of you all do. And I think together we really need to work hard to ensure that nothing slips. So I think we all come to the table with good faith, trying to ensure that this is a working board, and it's going to really take everybody to pay attention and be proactive in any matters that are germane to licensing.
Millie, this is Patrick speaking here. And, to the comment that Beverly made that, we didn't see this number of waiver requests in the middle of COVID. Well, I do wonder if part of it is that this kind of thing will be delayed a bit as it takes, we're now seeing that the waivers that we're seeing are from a period of time when people have been out of the office, whereas early in COVID or mid-COVID, they still had been receiving their mail and hadn't yet come up on a year or their 3 years. Like, I do wonder if some of that's the timing.
Mhm.
The second thing I wanted to just say is that I'll say the obvious, that these waivers are really time intensive for both the board as well as Beverly. And I totally agree with you that it feels like Beverly has gone well past what she is required to do in terms of keeping people informed and notified. And it makes me wonder if there is some part of that registration process early on that can be updated to include email addresses so that we have both notification going to email and to mail, or is that already there? Or I'd also be happy to hear that that's not necessary, but just a thought, like, how can we avoid all this additional work that seems to be happening here, both Beverly behind the scenes, but also here at the board?
Mhm.
Well, we don't, the regs don't permit email. We have to send out the invoice by regular mail. We have to receive the check to a lockbox. So there is a regulatory procedure that's set up at 3.06, and we have to follow that. Now, what we have been doing during COVID in an emergency with respect to people who have said that they didn't get the invoice, and when they notify us in a timely fashion, we do email them. We do accept email copies in an emergency from people, and we've always done that, not just during COVID. So from our end, there isn't much more that we can do administratively. I agree with Millie that every LSP knows that March 1st is the date when annual fees are due. And every LSP every LSP should be aware that their renewal comes every 3 years. It's burdensome on us, and I don't think, we're not able to do it to send out reminders to folks about renewing their license. I analogize the situation to the Registry of Motor Vehicles. When your license is about to expire, you get one notice. If you don't pay it on time or do whatever is required, your license is suspended or revoked or whatever the statute calls for. And so we've been following that. It's just that we've had a number of folks who have petitions asking for things outside of the regulations. So, maybe this problem will self-correct, but at this point, we're at our administrative limits in terms of what we are regulatorily required to do and what we can do, frankly.
Aren't online fee payments still in the works? I know we haven't discussed it in a while, but this is something that we had talked about that was being worked on.
I was supposed to be meeting with someone in August, the fall, I don't know. But 2021 anyway, Jamie, you're correct about that. And it didn't happen. So I'll make sure I raise that issue with the administration, but it didn't happen. I think that
may be one of the biggest things we could do to sort of lighten the load in terms of making it easy for folks to get these payments in on time.
Well, you're absolutely correct, Jamie, and it would also make it easier for me. Mm-hmm. Because if we don't have, but we still have to work out the logistics about how, and this is where Patrick's comment comes in. We still have to work out the logistics of the emails and how to send all that out. Because if we could send the invoices out online and then have the payments come in online, that would obviate all the need for this mailing and back and forth. And in particular, this protocol that they had to put in place recently about the invoices not being printed, because a lot of what happens with respect to mailings for these fees is out of our hands. Barbara sends the request for the invoices to be printed to someone in Chelsea. It goes through 3 different hands before it even gets printed and has to come back through those same 3 agencies before we can mail them out. So you're right. This is a really antiquated way of doing business.
I will say
and
that,
we've got-
Beverly, should we not then be considering some language changes to the regs before we button those up to allow for a future of electronic notification?
Yeah, we should. That is, and I'm taking note of that. But I've got to get. Yep. I'm sorry. I was just writing down what Jamie said. Absolutely, but I can't do online payments without DEA and DEP.
Sorry, Wendy Wendy Rundle just posted, it seems that an email blast reminder to all LSPs is not prohibited by the regs, along with snail mail.
Well, sending out snail mail, like save the date to 450 some odd people is unwieldy.
I think she means the email blast goes out to everybody. The snail
well,
mail is just your regular every day,
Yeah.
or doing with the regs.
Right. So I get it. So what we don't have a current email list of all of the LSPs, all 458. We don't have a current list. And so if we can get help, we'd even need help to put that together.
Yeah, you could generate a list through the LSP database, because the LSP emails are in the database. So I'm sure
some of them are there, Chris, and some of them aren't accurate. So I will by the next meeting have a report on online payments. I mean, it's just unreasonable. And the other thing is the LSP board is one of the last agencies, because we're not part of DEP. When DEP converted to online payments for permits and that sort of thing, we weren't included. So it's all a separate thing, but I'll have a report, an update for the board at the April meeting on online payments.
Chris,
and
In the meantime, this is Greg. I agree with Jamie. We should be making whatever changes we need to make in the regs to accommodate some future possibility of this online payment. I mentioned the process that you've outlined, Beverly, is maybe not the worst, but it's an egregious example of government inefficiency. And that's not a criticism of anybody other than the system, and it should be fixed. But obviously you can't fix it without some assistance.
I also remember there are other boards also that are governed by the licensing board. There's other licensing boards, and it would be good to kind of explore how that takes place in terms of.
Well, Beverly has said in the past that her her legal license is renewed online.
Right.
So
exactly. And so we don't need to know how it's done. I need someone to do it. And so I will meet with the person who is supposed to be in charge of this before the next meeting, because the examples of the Board of Bar Overseers, which governs my law license, for example, there are thousands and thousands of lawyers in Massachusetts, and everything is online for us. And you can renew your driver's license and all kinds of things. So this is really, as Greg says, it's no way to run a railroad, frankly. And I will look into changing it because, again, we're getting, as Patrick has indicated, we're getting more of these petitions, as Millie has indicated. So let's see if we can bring us into the 21st century. I'll work on that. I'm sorry, Chris, you
This
had
is
a
Dan
comment or
again. I just
something?
wanted to ask Chris as the tech guy, just to be responsive to what Wendy had said. Would it be a heavy lift to set up some kind of an automated blast based on the database and the email lists?
Well,
Well,
the other thing,
Chris doesn't do that, Jamie.
No, I'm not
The
asking him to
email,
do it. I'm just asking if he thinks it would be something that could be set up.
we've
Well, the-
already set it up before. Do you remember when we used to do a newsletter, Jamie? That was when we set it up. So, okay, go ahead, Chris. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Wendy also said, if the LSP board writes the reminder text, the LSPA would be happy to send to our LSP members.
No, we can't have, that's not a way to administer public records. I can't.
I think we've had.
Yeah,
It's an informational thing, Beverly. Actually, I'll in the last, one of the last emails from the LSPA, there was a informational tag on one of them that said, remember your dues are to the board are due. And something like that would be very helpful, I think, to everybody, whether you're aware or not, just to keep it in everybody's mind. It's not I don't think that's a formal board item, but it is informational that certainly we could share with the LSPA and they can pass on to everyone.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's often, I think it's written by LSPs that they offer like a tip, like a newsletter entry. We're in this together. I think it's going to take, that awareness. I think we all come.
No,
to the table.
there are some things that have to, I'm very cautious about this for the simple reason that the public records have to be maintained by the board. And so all of these are a little more, all these issues are a little more complex than just sending an email to Wendy, although I'm not opposed to that. I'm just saying. And I know that the LSPA has posted things on the website because I've seen them and communicated with Wendy about some of them. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But right now, I can't take on any new projects. The online fee payment is something that we absolutely need. So yes, I'm going to follow through on that. And I'll have a report at the next board meeting.
So Beverly, under this this topic, petitions for waiver, are you intending to discuss some of the recent petitions we've received?
Well, you're going to discuss them. I'm going to outline them for you. Yes.
Okay, but under this topic now, is it come?
So I thought we were talking about petitions for waiver and just online fee payments and things in general. But if we are going to item number 7 on the board meeting agenda, if the discussion is moving toward that, then yes, I'm ready to bring those petitions forward for discussion.
So that's where we are. Thank you. It was hard to decide because there was no sub piece to number 7, but in general, that was I just wanted to open up the floor by way of having a moment to express just their general sentiment on this topic. So let's talk specifics now.
Yep. Okay. I got it.
Just say one thing
on the online. Sure.
So obviously, this is a very important topic for a number of people who are asking for these waivers, and for the board, because the outcome can be quite a problem for individuals, so especially those who rely on a license for their business. But we have gone through this various times, and we've tried to weigh whether people were responsible or they were just not. And I don't have I'm not trying to force an outcome here. I'm just I think we all need to remember that we need to treat all of these kind of the same way. And that's not to all deny or whatever, but they all need to be looked at closely. And I don't know how exactly we'll come to this. What some of them seem to be administrative, some of them seem to be people just not paying attention. And I don't know, but I just want to urge us all to kind of look at them the same way. So anyway, that's just, I just wanted to preface that because I've been thinking about this quite a bit, and I'm not sure we've been consistent in the way we've acted.
Mr. DeCoulis just posted, pursuant to General Laws, Chapter 30A, Section 20F, I hereby notify the chair of the LSP board that I am making a video recording of this public meeting.
Thank you.
Okay, I want to, thanks, Chris, for the announcement. Thanks, Millie, for the acknowledgement. Greg, I think you raised a great point. We need to do two things. First of all, look at each one of these petitions for waiver on a case-by-case basis because the facts are different, because the circumstances are different. So yes, we have to look at them on a case-by-case basis, but at the same time, Greg, you're absolutely correct. The result must be consistent because this is not the last petition for waiver that we'll ever see presenting similar circumstances. So we, and I always very carefully note, as you have seen in my correspondence to folks who are in these circumstances, to outline the facts of each particular case, the dates of each particular case, but we, you members of the board have to vote consistently so that there is a consistent result. Because down the line, if these cases are litigated and the court looks and sees, and I'll talk about this in in the executive session, but these are things I can say publicly. If the result is inconsistent, that is, you allow one petition and deny another petition, a court going to look at the regulation and then make its own determination as to what was right or wrong. So what I'm saying supports Greg's comment that we have to be consistent in the way that we met out decisions on these petitions for waiver.
And I wholeheartedly agree with Greg and most certainly with Beverly. And I think that's why it's always been very important to have the regulations side by side and make those references back to the reg citation, because that's what the authority stems from, what's in the piece of paper. And often, there's concessions that are being requested and placed in front of the board for voting. And it's imperative that we have a crosswalk to take it back to that citation or the interpretation. And so I appreciate everyone's comments, and it's imperative that these cases are evaluated through the lens of what our authority, the authority that we're provided and given through the 310 CMR, 309, and predicated on which section we need to then move forward and apply that section. So
okay,
we're good. If you don't mind just taking it from there, please.
Yes, of course. Okay, so the other thing is the carryover that we're going back and forth meeting after meeting on certain petitions for waiver and requests. And, it's complicated for the voting members of the board to keep up with each one of these. Before I begin, I want to announce that Gail just emailed me and she will be joining us at 1 o'clock.
No, Beverly, I'm already, I for the minutes purposes, I joined at 12:47.
Oh, okay, great, Gail. Great, thank you. Okay, so I wanted to start with Mr. Mountain's petition for waiver. If you recall, he, pardon me, set his entire renewal package. When I spoke to Mr. Mountain, I thought that he was late in submitting his 2022 January renewal. It turns out that Mr. Mountain was late in submitting his January 2021 renewal. What the regulations indicate under 3.06 is that you can come back into the fold within 1 year if you have taken all the courses. Mr. Mountain is on the line, so he can participate, but what he indicated was that he did not obtain the required number of credits within that 1 year. And his petition for waiver is asking the board to allow him to obtain the necessary credits after the 1 year has passed.
Okay. So that's a different request, or now that we've drilled down, we've come to that conclusion, correct? That's the added clarity to this petition. He's asking for being provided with the ability to take courses after the 1 year.
He's asking for retroactive approval. He got his last credit 3 days after the 1 year expired.
Okay.
Mr. Mountain just posted, if the board has been unable to review the material I sent in support of my petition, I would prefer to table the vote and present my situation in person to the board at the next in-person meeting.
Well, that's not acceptable because your license is in limbo, Mr. Mountain. So, technically, after 1 year, the board has had your documents since the last meeting. It was tabled, as I recall, at the last meeting because the board hadn't had enough time to review it. The board has had a whole month to review everything that you sent, Mr. Mountain. It's all been forwarded to them.
We
It's up
received
to
it
them.
on February 7th, Beverly.
Yes.
I mean, I reviewed the latest letter February 28th, and I think we should discuss it. I had a few questions, if you don't mind. Who's responsible? Is the board to keep the list of approved CEUs up to date? I've never heard of anyone relying on that and mentioning that it's out of date. That's a comment that he makes on the second page.
Yeah, I talked to Mr. Mountain about that. The list was updated through when I talked to LSPs about courses, lacking courses, and knowing that the approved course list on the website is not complete. It says that it's only updated, I believe, until September of 2021. And if you recall, I had mentioned that I would get it updated because I've gotten someone to help me with that. I just haven't had time to do it. But I did talk to Mr. Mountain about what courses were available online. But no, you shouldn't rely on the website. You shouldn't rely on anything but obtaining the courses that you need.
Thank you. And then just my second question, there's just some comments throughout his letter about not receiving things and the board not responding and in a timely manner and stuff like that. Are those claims true? And is that a result of just the understaff of the board and the pandemic?
No, I don't think that first of all, it's I'm not going to go through every one of Mr. Mountain's bullet points on page 2, but no, that's not accurate. It's not accurate. The bottom line is Mr. Mountain did not obtain the required number of credits within 1 year. He didn't do it within the renewal period and submitted in a timely fashion in January of 2021, and he's just obtained the credits necessary after that. 1 year has passed. So when I spoke with him initially, I said, oh, so you want a 90-day extension. And I did not understand that he was 1 year late. He didn't correct me. Barbara corrected me. He was 1 year late. It wasn't his January 2022 renewal that he missed. He missed the January 30th, 2021 renewal date. So no, that's not accurate.
So I understand all that. I'm just being fair to him because he wrote a nice detailed letter and wanted to ask questions about what he wrote.
So I think we, and part of what he's asking is table to the next time we meet in person. We're not sure when we're meeting in person. So I think this is the venue to ask those questions. And if in fact there is a punch list, I do agree with David. I think we should go through and at least close the loop in a way that's transparent and does justice to what he's put forth. Is it possible to at least enumerate the issues and speak from one voice and answer those questions? And today it's been very difficult to understand that he was late in submitting his January 30, 2021. I appreciate that clarification, Beverly.
But you're right, Millie. Maybe Mr. Mountain can respond to this and state his case. I mean, we have the documents. You've been able to review the documents. I don't agree that it should be tabled. Of course, I'm not a voting member, but I think that the board has had adequate time to review the documents from the last meeting, in addition to his February 28th letter. So Mr. Mountain should respond to the board's inquiry.
Well,
unless he types.
Yeah, it's not in person, and he did respond. I mean, he wrote us his second letter, which we all reviewed, I assume, for this meeting.
Yeah. So David, as a board member, can you at least maybe reiterate the point and have Mr. Mountain affirm yes, no? Is that how can we make?
No,
how can we transact?
I don't need to summarize his arguments or his points. I just had questions on them. I don't know what other people feel about this. My initial feeling is that, on one side of the coin, he happened to be able to get 50 CEUs for his New Jersey LSRP during the time frame, but not for his LSP in Massachusetts. And on the other side of the coin, is he a victim of an understaffed board and the pandemic? I don't know. Other people can speak to it. I've read his letter and I had questions on some of his points.
Well, the root cause for me is
understaffed on the board doesn't have anything to do with Mr. Mountain not renewing his license in January of 2021. If you look at his petition, he's saying that he was unable to obtain the necessary credit in 1 year.
Right. That's exactly
right.
That's
the most pertinent fact here. And then the board must look at good cause under 212 and figure out whether or not he has sufficient. We know what he did not do, and that was submit his renewal in January of 2021, and we know that he didn't have the necessary credits within 1 year. So is there good cause for him not meeting the regulatory standard?
Mr. Mountain just stated,
Sure.
that is correct. I have 54 credits now. He then said, everything I said in my letters was true. And then he said, I have the canceled checks and sent in my initial application in January 2021.
But he didn't have enough credit.
Right. I feel as a board, our business did not stop because of COVID. The Continuing Education Committee really strived to advance and honor every single petition for us to take action on to provide credits and courses. So I do have to say that courses were there for LSPs to avail themselves to. I don't know. I don't know what else to say.
I'm sorry, Millie. Are you finished?
Oh.
I'm sorry to interrupt.
No,
I just wanted to say that this matter has been litigated with respect to Mr. DeCoulis's petition. Mr. DeCoulis contended that he could not obtain enough credit because of COVID in time to renew his license, and he petitioned the board, and the board denied his petition. And as everyone knows, Mr. DeCoulis appealed that decision to the Superior Court, and the Superior Court denied his request for injunctive relief. So I think you have to look at Mr. Mountain's petition within the context of the other decisions that have gone before him with respect to requests. And we have had a few, not many, but we have had no more than 5 petitions indicating that they hadn't obtained enough credit due to COVID. And I have to say that actually during 2021, we had a lot more courses available.
Yep.
Yeah, I think the bottom line is we've reviewed several of these, and we have not considered to be COVID alone as being a good cause. And we've also come to the conclusion that there were, in fact, plenty of credits out there for people to obtain. So in terms of consistency, I believe we've pretty much denied these types of requests. I sympathize with the fact that it's 3 days over the line, but we're a year and 3 days in this case.
We've also not accepted workload and travel.
Right.
I think this board really strives to look at the big picture and consider that there's a body of 500 plus LSPs, and they are all operating under the same rules when it comes to ensuring that their license is renewed. So parsing out their travel, or our job is to ensure that there are courses. We've been diligently moving forward with everything in front of us with regards to continuing education. I think it would be unfair to the body of LSPs that are subject to the same rules.
And I have to say that the one thing that has not stopped, has not missed a beat, is continuing education approval of courses.
Agreed.
I mean, during COVID, before COVID, the board always makes sure that the continuing ed courses are approved, denied, or tabled. And that hasn't stopped or slowed down during COVID at all. The other part of it is every LSP renewing his or her license has 3 years to do that. Mr. Mountain actually, according to the rules, has had 4 years. Because what 3.06 does is give you an additional year, in addition to the 3 years that the regulations stipulate you is the time for renewal. You have an additional year, so you have 4 years to obtain the required credit.
Does anyone have any additional comments or questions? And thank you, Beverly, for clarifying, refreshing the regulatory interpretation and how it's applied. Is the intention of this agenda item to take a vote?
If someone wants to make a motion and it's second, then there would be a vote.
Mr. Mountain just stated, I would like to note that 14 of my credits with the New Jersey LSRP are with EnviroClass that are now pending approval.
So my question is, isn't the burden on the licensed site professional to bring forth all that information? I am not an LSP, but one would argue if you've taken courses and it's that responsiveness with regards to presenting the package for renewal.
Yeah, so they weren't approved at the time he took them, but potentially they're approved in the future, and then they would be considered LSP credits during the 3 years. But at the time,
Right.
they weren't.
We're looking at a snapshot in time, which is the same snapshot in time that LSPs with a burden to renew, if that's what they choose to do. They're using that snapshot in time. I don't believe that there is, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't believe that there is, if there's a future mandate or a future decision, it's not retrospective. It doesn't apply retrospectively.
This is Debbie. I'll make a motion to deny the waiver.
This is Patrick, I second.
With that, we have a motion in front of us. Board members, you can either approve, deny, abstain, or recuse yourself. I will start with Patrick.
I approve of the motion to deny.
Thank you. That's
Just say yes, yes,
if you say yes, you're approving the motion to deny. So Patrick is a yes. Paul?
I'm a yes as well.
Craig?
Yes.
Greg?
yes,
Deb?
Yes.
Millie is a yes. Kathy?
Yes.
Kirk?
Abstain.
Abstain? Jamie? Thank you, Kirk. Jamie?
I apologize. I lost my network connection there for a minute. Could you restate the motion?
Motion is to, if you say yes, you are approving the denial.
Yes.
Thank you, Kirk. Jamie?
that was Jamie.
Kirk abstained and Jamie said yes.
Thank you. David?
Yes.
Motion carries
No,
to approve.
Gail.
And Gail.
Gail says
Thank
yes.
you, Gail. Yes. So the motion carries.
The next petition before the board is Ms. Oosting's petition, and her petition is not ripe for discussion because we haven't looked at her limited application, and that ARP is scheduled for the 17th. So her petition for waiver to sit for the LSP exam is tabled, should be tabled until the April 26th meeting after her application is reviewed, because what the board decided to do was wait until after her application was reviewed.
We agreed to that request contingent on the application being approved and accepted.
No, I don't think you approved to what? Waive sitting for the exam?
Yes,
No, that wasn't voted on and approved at the last meeting.
I thought it was.
yes, it was.
Ms. Oosting doesn't have to sit for the exam.
Correct. That's what we voted on.
Contingent upon approval of the ARP.
Correct.
But the ARP is scheduled for March 27th,
No, March 17th.
17.
I mean, I believe Kurt made that motion.
Yep.
And I responded that we should wait until her application is approved before we vote on that, but I believe we proceeded with the vote anyway.
We did, and it passed.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, well, let me just make some comments about that since the board has done that. I think that this is the wrong thing to do, because we now have Mr. Mountain who's going to petition for exactly the same thing. We have Ms. Winterburn, whose license was revoked, who will petition for exactly the same thing. I also have done some legal research on this, and I'm going to just go into that now simply because it's important. But I think that this is inconsistent with the statutory purpose. The statute for non-payment of annual fees was enacted to prevent unlicensed people from practicing hazardous waste site cleanup. It is a matter of public safety. It is also a duty for an LSP to make sure that they have the correct address with the board. So I don't know whether or not for the past year, Ms. Oosting had insurance as an LSP, but I do know that maybe if her company did, she could not have practiced hazardous waste site cleanup work for the past year. So if you are saying now that she can file a limited application and not sit for the exam, you're saying that there's going to be the same rules applied with consistency, as Greg has indicated, for all the other people coming behind her who are similarly situated.
Yes, but similarly situated is for the unpaid annual fee issue. That's a different issue than not getting your credits on time.
I totally agree.
And we're very consistent by looking at each one individually and spending a lot of time on them and doing our
Absolutely.
best to judge.
Yeah, and Greg, I just
Go
wanted
ahead.
to, I just wanted to, and this is not to support or deny this proposal or this waiver request, but it says clearly in the petition for waiver sections 212, notwithstanding any of the requirements, limitations, provisions, and or deadlines set forth in 309 CMR 1 through 8, any licensee may petition the board for good cause, and the board shall, will act appropriately. Again, I want us to be consistent, and I appreciate what Beverly is saying. I just want us all to be very clear that she may be right. If we approve this one, we may be inconsistent if we don't approve others. But if we can, as long as we can distinguish between them and put them in one column or another for a reason.
Well, can I ask the board, what's the good cause for waiving the requirement of 209? Why would you waive that? if the regulation indicates in plain language that if you don't do something, this is the consequence, then where's the good cause for waiving that consequence?
Personally, I don't think it's in the best interest of the Commonwealth in that particular scenario.
Okay, so if you don't change your address and you don't get an invoice and you don't pay your fee, what you're saying is inconsistent. What you're doing is inconsistent with the regulation. Because the regulation says pay the fee or this happens. And you're saying this shouldn't happen. Now, what I'm asking, and this is for everyone who comes before the board on this issue, what's the good cause for the waiver? Because it was through the licensed site professional's own failure to change her address that this is the position she's in the first place. So if there are no consequences to not paying the fee, I think you're encouraging people, you're not encouraging people, that's wrong, I'm sorry. You're taking the teeth out of the regulation. There's no enforcement in the regulation if you do this. But
Well, in the case of Ms. Oosting and the one that we voted on, that there was still a requirement to reapply and pay the application fee. We only voted to waive the having to resit for the exam.
Yep, you did. Okay. So the next petition before the board, Mr. Dwas, if you recall at the last board meeting, did not, before we move on, so if Ms. Winterburn, because I want to make sure that we're clear, if Ms. Winterburn petitions the board not to sit for the exam, you will give her the same result. Is that right?
Have we
No,
received
not at all.
the petition?
No, you shouldn't bait her and bait us with that type of a question. That's not true at all.
No, I'm not. Wait a minute.
Each situation is totally different.
Exactly. I'm not baiting. Please don't use that word. I'm asking because she is going to make the same request, or should be allowed rather to make the same request.
You should encourage anyone to do that. And each situation.
I'm not encouraging. It's a right. If you do it for one LSP, David, you have to do it for all of the LSPs. So I'm not encouraging her to do anything, but she's similarly situated to Ms. Oosting, and I'm absolutely going to notify her. I'm sure I won't have to notify her. This is a public meeting. She's entitled to the same considerations that you gave to Ms. Oosting. So I'm sure, that I didn't particularly send her a specific invitation to the meeting, but I'm sure she'll find out.
But I think the point is we're not going to consider a petition for waiver that doesn't exist yet.
Exactly, and the situations
that wasn't my question. I didn't ask you to consider it. I just said that Ms. Winterburn is entitled to the same consideration. That was all.
Yes, for sure. And the thing is, her circumstances are not exactly the same.
Exactly.
So again, we will look at this on a case-by-case basis.
Which I think it's why we wanted to ensure that the case by case, what makes a case be unique, be clearly identified and understood by the board members so that our decision making is predicated on the facts.
Wendy Rundle just posted the fact that there are no public minutes for the prior meeting where this was discussed is a big problem. As a stakeholder, having no formal record for this is entirely unfair for LSPs.
Ms. Rundle, do you want me to send you the transcript for the last meeting if I have it? If I have it, I'll absolutely send it to you. I'll absolutely send it to you.
Well, the other thing too is all of the meetings, the unedited versions, which is both a video and a transcript that's recorded by the program GoToWebinar. We are able to share those raw videos with the public, and they can
Yes,
go
I
in
know, Chris.
and okay, I'm just saying that.
No, I know, Chris, because if Ms. Rundle, I'll take this as a public records request from Ms. Rundle for the February 8th meeting minutes, and I'll get those to her as soon as I get them.
She's also requesting, yes, that would be fantastic. This is Ms. Rundle. Yes, that would be fantastic.
Yeah.
Also, transcript for this meeting.
Well, we'll have to get through it first, but yeah. Okay, so that is that. Mr. Dwas failed to pay his annual fee. He forwarded a check, copy of a check, pardon me, that indicated that the date on the check is January 29th, 2021, but it was not deposited until September 22nd, 2021. So I don't know what that means for his petition. Again, you've been able to review Mr. Dwas's petition. The only addition to his petition is the check.
Wasn't where we left this one. We were trying to find out what happened with the delay, why the check was not deposited anywhere near the time that it was submitted.
8 months. It was not deposited. It was not deposited until, like I said, September 22nd. But that doesn't indicate that we received it any time before. The checks go to a lockbox, which goes to the Bank of America. And Bank of America sends us notice when the checks were deposited. So all I have here is the note from the bank that said, and which Mr. Dwas submitted, which indicates that it wasn't cashed until September of 2021.
Just to clarify, so are we unsure of the time, how long it may have taken for his check to arrive in the mail once he deposited it in the mailbox? Are we wondering, is it the amount of time it took to get from the lockbox and be deposited? What information do we have about a potential cause of delay?
I don't have any information on a delay. All I have is when the check, when the bank notified us that it cashed the check. That doesn't tell us even when. So you can assume, Patrick, that even if the check was cashed by Bank of America in September, that we didn't receive notice that the check was cashed until sometime after September 22nd. I don't have any information about when it was actually, sent to the bank. all we have to go by, the date on the check is January 29th, 2021. But there's an exact, almost an 8-month delay on when it was cashed.
But so was he notified when his annual fee was late?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, he received the certified letters you should have received copies of those certified letters, board members.
You're right.
Yep. And you can see that when the letters were sent and when they were received based on the certification, the green card tracking number.
So the piece of information that speaks to Bank of America not cashing the check until September 2021, is that the factor that we're going over again to try to time or at least further arrive at, is it a third party that has caused a delay? I mean, did the LSP do everything that he was supposed to do in this case, Mr. Duarte?
Okay. What I have here indicates that, as I said, we didn't receive notification. The report that comes from the lockbox indicates that Mr. Duase's annual fee arrived on November 2nd, 2021. He paid his annual fee in September. I'm sorry, his quarterly fee. But the board didn't even receive notice that he paid his annual fee until November of 2021. If you recall, I just said that happens after. So even once it was deposited in September, we didn't receive notice until November 2nd. So I'm looking at our administrative forms now to see exactly, because Barbara logs in when the annual fee comes in. So again, the notice that she received was that the payment wasn't received until November of 2021. I don't know. We don't have any further information.
I'm trying to reconcile the cashing the check, like Bank of America cashing the check on, sometime on around, September 2021. And then there's that intervening period of time. It's not clear to the board until November 2nd that in fact this has taken place.
Right. Because remember, this is the other good reason for online payments. But what happens is it goes through three different cycles before it comes to us and comes back and all of that. But the payments are clearly, when the check is cashed, that's Bank of America. And what we have is a September. I mean, I don't know if
Beverly,
this is what Mr. Duarte submitted. Yes, Jamie.
Yeah, I'm trying to find his letter, and I can't at the moment. But does he specifically state that he did in fact mail his check? I know he said it was postmarked at January, but did he specifically state in the letter that he mailed his check prior to the deadline?
I don't know. Is Mr. Duarte on the line? I don't want to speak for him.
Yes, he is.
Okay, well, let him answer. Let him answer. I think
He
we're
just-
just waiting
he just-
for Mr. Dwas to
Yeah.
respond. Yeah.
He just responded yes.
Okay, so I don't think we can really put a finger on what happened to the check in that 8-month period. I don't think we have enough information to know that. All we have to go on here is Mr. Dwas has his canceled check, and he said that he mailed it on time, right?
That's what's being represented, Jamie.
Yep,
We
I just, okay.
Yeah,
So that
Mhm.
being the case,
I know where you're going, which,
it's my feeling is that we almost need to provide the benefit of the doubt here, because we can't say that he didn't mail it on time, and he's claiming that he did, and we don't know what happened with the lockbox. The check, fell under a desk or something, who knows? But that's all the information we have to go on.
Yes, he said,
Right.
Mr. Dwas said the check was sent on the date of the check.
which is September something 2021,
No,
correct?
no.
No,
January.
no, the check was sent on January 29, 2021. That's the date on the check.
Okay, and it was not cashed until September
Right.
Correct.
And
2021.
and I think Jamie's correct. There's a discrepancy here, but there's no way to resolve the discrepancy either in favor of Mr. Dwas or against him.
Yep.
I really feel like that we have to provide the benefit of the doubt in this case here. I don't think we can say that he was late. His check, he provided his copy of his check. He stated on the record that he mailed it on time. So my motion is, well, I don't even know if we would need to say that this is a waiver, right? We just are saying that it was in fact sent on time.
And the issue is that there was no other mechanism to make payment except for traditional issuance of a check or certified check. So I second, Jamie, if you don't mind reorganizing.
Well, first, Beverly, I guess would we actually need to act as this is a petition for waiver? Because if we're basically concluding that he mailed the check on time, does he even need a waiver?
There is a petition for waiver before you. Mr. Dwas submitted documents, so I think you need to make a ruling on what he submitted.
Okay.
It's not just that you have the check. It's that he submitted last month. Just gonna see if I can pull it up so we
I'll
can
take a stab at this.
Yeah, and Jamie,
Well,
maybe it could be rephrased that it is or is not subject to petition, so that, we use the petition for waiver section, the 2.12, for those things that really belong in that box.
Yeah, I guess what I would say is I move that we accept the evidence that Mr. Dwas provided, that he submitted his check on time, and therefore a waiver is not needed, and we are concluding that he pay his annual fee on time. Does that seem reasonable?
Second.
Any further discussion?
Hold on.
This is Patrick.
Go ahead.
When was he notified of late payment? And did he respond to the notification of late payment?
Okay, let me do one thing at a time. I'll answer your question just 1 second. Mr. Dwas said that I'm looking at his petition, which is December 30th, 2021. And he says that in September, he was notified. He talks about his renewal fee. He said that he was advised in November that he had not paid his annual fee. So yes, that is what he's asking. So there was a second question. You asked about unpaid fees. Was that Patrick or Jamie?
That was, well, yeah, my
I
question
sent that
was, yeah, I'm
yeah,
sorry,
go
Beverly,
ahead.
go ahead.
No, I'm just saying, I'm pulling up the information is you requested on Mr. Dwas. So Mr. Dwas received his first notice on April 6th, 2021, that he had not paid his annual fee. He received his second notice that he had not paid his annual fee. I'm sorry, I'm not able to. The third notice was, I'm trying to pull up his second notice. One moment.
I guess
And
where
I'm
I'm
not-
going, this line of question, Beverly, is to say, if he
Mhm.
received notices that he hadn't paid, why he hadn't reached out to you or made inquiry at that time, instead of where we are now, where we have a check that is dated January. If he had sent that in January, I would think that he would have responded in April or to the other notice. And if I'm correct, that I understand this correctly, that he received these notices, can you ask him why he didn't respond to that and ask where his payment was?
I did send Mr. Dwas an invitation. I don't know. I thought he was on the line.
He is.
Okay, because we have that notice that the green card for Mr. Dwas was signed and returned on April 6, 2021. Mr. Dwas also has indicated that he changed his address.
Mr. Dwas just said,
But nothing was returned as undeliverable.
Mr. Dwas just said, I had called the board office and left voice messages, which I did not finally connect with Ms. Roby for several months.
So it just feels like
That doesn't answer Patrick's question about why Mr. Dwas didn't respond to the notices that he was sent, the certified notices.
Well, I think he's
In
saying
April.
I think he's saying he called the board.
Correct.
He called the
That's
board
Yeah,
office.
but
that's how I take the answer.
Yeah. Well,
Can I
he
just-
received
can I just-
he received two notices. One in April of 2021. The second notice was received was sent May 14th of 2021.
Right, so I just want to understand how to reconcile the first, second, third notices with what I understand and I believe it was discussed earlier, which is Mr. Dwyer had issued a check back on January 21st, 2021. So this is clearly before April 6th and the other dates that follow. So I just want to sequence this correctly. January 21st, Mr. Dwyer issues a check which is not cashed by Bank of America until September 2021. And it's not until November 2nd, 2021 that the board understands that this check has been cashed. In the intervening time between that time frame, January 21st and November 2nd, there were notices that went to Mr. Dua, but notwithstanding that, there was a check that he issued on January 21st. I just want to get it right.
And I certainly understand the desire to, take him at his word. I also have concerns about creating a precedent for others who may see an opportunity in the future to backdate a check and put it in the mail. And that is unlikely, seemingly, from the testimony that is providing, that that's happened here, because I have to take him at his word. But I also am concerned that in the future, backdated checks could help somebody correct a deficiency in paying their bills in time. So that's where some of my concern lies. I don't know that it overwhelms my perspective on this too far, but that's why I was asking why and whether he had responded to late notices as a piece of the story. And it sounds like he called the offices, and Beverly, you seem to suggest that you may have received phone calls from him during that time.
No, I'm not in the office. And the only way to reach me is via my cell phone, which is in my signature line. So I first spoke to Mr. Dwas in the fall when the third notice goes out. I, as a courtesy, call people and say, by the way, your license is being revoked. That was the first time I heard from Mr. Dwas, Ms. Oosting, Ms. Winterburn, and Mr. DeCoulis, the four folks that we are talking about right now. So I didn't speak to him during the time that he received these notices. Now, I am available through email always, and I did not receive any response from Mr. Dwas to the April 6, 2021 first notice or the May 14th, 2021 second notice. The third notice went out, and I called him.
Mr. Dwas said, and I reached out to the board to get clarification as to discrepancy. I am an LSP and have a professional obligation to be honest and forthright. I hope no one is accusing me of deception. And
Yeah, just for the record, when I stated January 21st, 2021, I'm just taking it as face value. I would hope that.
And just for clarification, the only reason I'm adding this is because I also deal with technical issues for BWSC, and it's paying its bills. That also goes through the lockbox. And especially the last year, it's been a horror show in getting payments and getting them, issuing them to the bank and things like that. We have switched over all of our databases and online systems. This started to happen in April and May. And as of right now, a lot of our systems that track a lot of this stuff are offline right now.
But that's not LSP board, Chris. That's not the LSP board.
It's the state lockbox. We deal with the same lockboxes.
But we haven't had any. Yeah, but we haven't had the problem that Mr. Dwas is experiencing. He's the only person out of all of the 400 LSPs who has this particular issue with the lockbox.
Oh, I'm not saying one thing or another. I'm just trying to add some information that could be relevant. That's all, for people's consideration. I'm not suggesting anything.
So,
but what I'm saying is that we haven't had those issues with the LSP payment. Jamie, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I guess I just want to circle back to to the motion here, just because I think what we're talking about doesn't really alter the underlying sort of facts that we have. And I understand Patrick's concern, and you know, there's a whole section of the regs about, you know, ethics and so forth. And, you know, I think the board has, or as a board member, I'm going to presume that LSPs are acting in accordance with those regulations. And that's the statement we have, that the check was mailed on time, and therefore that's what my motion is. I don't know if we could move on to a vote.
Well, there's also a statement in the regs about notices and they're presumed received. So all the LSPs who are saying that they didn't receive notices because of COVID and because they were teleworking, and because if we mail, the regs only require us to mail it to your last known address. That's it. No reminders, no save the dates or heads up. That's what the regulations require. So
the notices
I
don't
agree
really come into play in this case, though, here, right? Because we're saying that the check was mailed before the first notice even went out.
That's why I was
Well-
trying to just gauge the sequencing, because it's makes me wonder if by
Right.
virtue of issuing this check on, again, going by what I assume is without any kind of prejudice, he's January 21st, 2021, and it was not until September 2021 that it was cashed. I don't know what Mr. Dua in the intervening period did or did not do. And I don't know if he's pointing back to January 21st. That's when I sent the check. I thought I was all free and clear. So I don't want to speak, neither should I speak for him. But I just want to at least understand how the sequencing of events here may basically just, you know, a notice is a notice. And if the person is saying that, well, I mailed a check, I can ignore the notice because I mailed a check. I don't want to put words in his mouth, but I'm still, that's a question mark that I have. And if, you know, with regards to voting.
He also he also should have known that his check wasn't cashed. I mean, you know, there's also the factor, it's not just that there were notices sent on April 6th and again on May 14th that Mr. DeWast may have thought he was fine, but he received the notices, and then he could have checked with his bank and seen that the check had not been cashed.
I
This
second
is
Jamie's
Patrick.
motion. Would like to see this put to a vote.
Yeah, this is Patrick. I would say I'm ready for a vote, and you know, I'm appreciative of his attending today, and providing testimony, which is evidence. So,
Jamie, would you like to construct the motion for a second?
I believe I already put a motion forward.
Can
I will
he
attempt to
make
reiterate it.
so that everybody can understand what they're voting for?
Yes, my motion is to accept the information that Mr. DeWast provided, that he did in fact mail his annual fee on time, and therefore no waiver is required, and the board considers his fee paid timely.
Is there a second? You can always approve, deny, abstain.
I'll second. This is Patrick.
Okay, with that, we will go through the roll call.
Millie, is there any discussion?
Yes, there any discuss? I feel like we've been discussing it, but if there's any discussion of the motion itself.
I just have a question. Was there material sent before Craig and I came on that would be pertinent to this, or is it most of the information was discussed today? I guess
No, there.
I'm not,
Yeah, Yeah, Craig, I'm sorry, there was other information that was sent. The dates of the certified mail, copies of the letters, the board did have an opportunity to review those things.
Right. Thereby, if there's the approve, deny, abstain option. So with that, we're moving forward. Patrick,
Approve.
Paul,
I'm going to abstain.
Abstain.
Greg,
Yes.
Deb,
Yes.
Millie is a yes. Kathy,
Yes.
Kirk,
Yes.
Jamie,
Yes.
David,
Yes.
and Gail.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, the next petition before the board is Mr. Gibbons.
Since we just received it today, can we just table it to next month?
Sure.
Unless other people discuss it.
I second that.
Okay. I'll make sure that Mr. Gibbons is invited to the April meeting. All right, the last issue of unpaid fees concerns Mr. DeCoulis. And I think you have all the information before you regarding Mr. DeCoulis.
So Beverly, just kindly please recap, just in consideration that every case is different, just so that the board can start off from the same page.
Mr. DeCoulis filed a request for injunctive relief in Superior Court because he did not have sufficient credit to renew his license in 2020. The court issued a decision denying his request for injunctive relief. He obtained the necessary credit to renew his license, and because I'm sorry, I'm just checking dates. So Mr. DeCoulis did not receive his invoice, annual fee invoice, until his license became active again in the spring. Mr. DeCoulis said that he did not get the invoice, and he did not, I'm sorry, I'm looking at my notes, that he did not get the invoice, and he did not receive his certificate, because what Barbara did, as you recall, was just stick the invoice for his 2021 annual fee in the envelope with his certificate. Mr. DeCoulis said that he did not receive either his certificate or the invoice, and that was why he didn't pay the annual fee. And he's on the line, so of course he can respond to the board's inquiry.
Beverly, I thought this was actually resolved at the last meeting. Do we have to take any action at this point?
No, I don't know. I mean, the petition is still pending. I didn't know. I don't think it was. What I have from February 8th is that it was tabled. No vote
It
was
was-
taken.
It was tabled
Maybe-
because we hadn't, there was a question about whether or not he received the notice for the 30-day notice for late payment of the fee. And there was,
Mhm.
I don't believe there was, there was evidence of that.
Right. Right. So now you can vote. I mean, it's the same situation as Mr. DeWass. You know, there's no way to prove a negative, in the sense that there's no way to prove that Mr. DeCoulis did in fact receive his invoice and the notices, and so there's no way for us to verify that that was why he didn't pay or that he did pay. Well, he's not saying he did pay.
I don't agree, Beverly. There was no green card saying that he was sent a notice after 30 days of non-payment.
Right, that
That's
was the
right.
difference between this and the other
Yeah.
cases that were similar.
That's right.
So
You're right.
the only notice he received was the revocation notice in November.
Right.
So he wasn't given.
I believe
he
that's right.
Okay.
Yep, I believe that's right. So
So the difference here being that there's no green card associated with the combination package of certificate plus the invoice.
No, there was no, that's regular mail. There was no certified mail 30 days after lack of payment, which usually would be the beginning of April. But since he was on a different schedule, it would have been June or so.
right. Because he wouldn't have gotten it, and his license was lapsed until the court ruled, once the court ruled in December. And then he obtained the necessary credits. So he was awarded his, he became an active LSP. The computer doesn't generate invoices for unlicensed LSPs. So when the invoices were generated, Mr. DeCoulis was not a licensed LSP. His license had lapsed. But I think that you're correct that we don't have, and I'm scrolling through them just to make sure. I don't think that Mr. DeCoulis received the certified mail notices. I've asked Barbara everything she had, and she hasn't sent that to me. So,
Mr. DeCoulis stated there are no green cards proving the board mailed the first invoice or certificate. And then he said, in an email from Ms. Roby dated March 3rd, 2022, she also stated, I learned that the 2022 annual fee notice was not mailed to your office. So in addition to the email that you received, the original invoice will be mailed to the address you've set out below. And then he stated, why am I not receiving invoices?
Well, that's not relevant to this discussion. I mean, we're talking about the 2021 annual fee at this point. And if he looks at the database, the board database, his address is correct. So, and also he's wrong stating that the certification of the license and the bill they're not supposed to be sent certified mail. They're sent regular mail. So there wouldn't be a green card.
My opinion, this should
but I
be
think
granted.
I think that, yeah, I think that the bottom line is that there's no green card. This is a situation of Mr. DeCoulis' own making by not having the credits and opposing the executive order and going back to COVID and filing a petition for injunctive relief in Superior Court. But the bottom line is he's correct. He did not receive notice as required under 2.09, certified mail receipt that we can produce. So
I'm going to make a motion
absolutely correct.
that we grant this request.
Well, I think it's kind of like, isn't it like Mr. Duas's, that
Not at
there's
all.
there's
No.
no request to allow?
No
Well,
petition.
I'm just asking.
we're still, is the annual fee still pending at this point?
No, he paid it.
It is paid.
I believe yes. Yes. Mr. DeCoulis, did you pay your annual fee for 2021?
Deb, were you saying something?
I think we're asking the question, Mr. DeCoulis. Yes, no.
I thought there was a petition
He
for
said-
waiver, but maybe I'm wrong.
He said immediately.
Okay. So I think that in your question, as it pertains to what Mr. DeCoulis has asked, he did petition for waiver, and the question becomes whether this is his request fits that box, or akin to Mr. Dua, it's something that's an administrative or an item that's not germane to the petition for waiver. So that, I mean, if we believe that akin to what we just discussed with Mr. Dua, it's
I
not
guess we can,
part of the
all right.
petition.
Due to administrative error and the notices not going out in accordance with the regulation, then I guess the waiver would not be required.
Mr. DeCoulis said, I have
Well,
not filed a petition to waiver.
I understand, but the question is, I understand, and that's exactly what Mr. Dua did also. He availed himself to this process, and the question is whether it fits what it is, and we can still amend the process by way of a motion, articulating what it is we're voting for, and then voting on that. So we're just trying to at least fit it in the box that's correct, and then taking a vote on it.
So he said that he did not submit a petition for waivers, so I think we just have to vote on that he paid his 2020 annual fee in a timely manner.
2021.
2021.
2021.
I second the modified motion.
I don't actually think that you can say that it was timely. I think you could say it was. I think hold on, Deb. I'm saying you can say it was paid. It wasn't timely. It was paid.
You're right. It was paid.
Second.
Okay, so at this time, we're going to move with the roll call. Everybody understanding what it is we're voting for, correct? And with that, I will move forward. Patrick?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Craig?
Abstain.
Greg?
Yes.
Deb?
Yes.
Millie is a yes. Kathy?
Yes.
Kirk?
Yes.
Jamie?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
And Gail?
Yes.
Motion carries.
I have a couple of things that people have been sending me that I want to read to get onto the record. Let's see. Gosh, there's been so many. Mr. Gibbons said, hello, my petition and supporting documentation was sent via overnight US mail for delivery on March 2nd, 2022, which I understood was what was needed for consideration at this board meeting. He then said it was also sent via email on 3/1. And then Ms. Rundle would like, she stated, going back to the transcripts, those should be posted on the LSP board website for all stakeholders. And that was when we were talking about the
Meeting minutes.
right, the meeting minutes, sorry. I'm just like going through all these messages and trying to get everybody in and keep getting. So I just wanted those on the record. That was it.
Oh, okay. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, for some reason,
Okay,
a bunch of people were muted. I don't know why.
thank you. Okay, so let's see, we were in section 7, petitions for waiver. So now we're moving on to section item 8, which is titled unpaid annual fees, 2021, 310 CMR, excuse me, 309 CMR 3.05 and 309 CMR 2.12. Beverly, if you could lead us in this conversation and move forward with discussions regarding unpaid fees, that takes us to item number 11. Beverly, are you on the line?
She may have been muted again, because mine keeps going muted, it keeps being muted by the organizer, it says.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out what happened. Everybody got muted. I was trying to isolate where the static was coming from. Hold on. Yeah, see, Beverly called in on the phone, so I have no control over whether she's muted or not. I only have control over people who log in on the website and use computer audio. So Beverly, if you can hear, maybe redial in, because I'm not seeing you on the list.
I'm just sending her a text.
Okay. Yeah, see, anybody on a that calls in on a phone, I have no control over. Only people that are using computer audio, I have any control over.
I have a technical question. Are we able to see the chat from like Wendy and others that are attending as a panelist?
Not that I know of. I wish, because I was trying to figure that out the last few months, because it's really hard for me to, look at the all the technical stuff, make sure everybody's, running well, but also get people's comments in a timely manner and not interrupt board members when they're, discussing something else, and somebody will chime in, and I'll need to, because I want this all on the record, and I do save all the texts as a matter of record. So all this text is everything that everybody types is saved in a text file. So if we ever needed to go back and see what people wrote, it's all available.
Yeah,
So
thank you.
Chris, if you could kindly please resend the link to Beverly. She said she cannot get in.
Alrighty, I'll do that now.
Thank you.
Okay, I just resent her the invitation. Yeah, see, the other problem I have is I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 windows open. So I'm trying to like navigate everything so that I can share my screen, but also deal with technical difficulties, etc. So yes, just to reiterate what David said way back when, I would love for you guys to get back to doing in-person meetings. So you'll have no need of me.
Yeah, stay tuned. She's saying that she did not receive it. Chris, are you resending again, or?
I'm going to resend my windows are all locked up right now. I'm going to resend her another invite. I sent her one about a minute ago. Yeah, this software is awful. Okay, I just sent her another invite.
Yeah, let her know.
Yep, so I sent out this invite a minute ago, so she should get this. And
Chris, I also forwarded the invite to her. In
okay,
a different location, maybe she'll get one of them.
okay. Yeah, and it says to use your telephone, here's the call-in number, and here's the access code.
Okay. Okay, we're going to give her a couple minutes and then decide if we need to table some of the items so we can move forward.
Yeah, my computer froze up while I was doing all that, trying to mute and unmute people. And I'm wondering if that's how come she got the boot from the meeting, but I did resend the invites, so.
Okay, so I'm thinking, I flag that there's a call-in number listed in the invitation itself, and perhaps she can use the call-in option. Okay, and she is using the call-in number.
Yeah,
Makes me
what's it telling her? Like, just out of curiosity, because is it saying she can't connect and she's not, and then she just, yeah, because it gives the access code too, so.
Since this is being recorded and there aren't notes, can we go through agenda items that don't involve her?
Yeah, we're gonna make a decision very shortly, and you know, the other technical option might be for everybody to hang up and come back to the fold. Then we may lose everyone, so I'm just trying to close the loop on this call-in option.
Chris, is there an option that, according to this, it looks like if you prefer to use your phone, you must use telephone after joining the webinar and call in using the numbers below. Is that just for somebody who wants to use their telephone as audio as opposed to an actual link through the telephone?
I believe so. Beverly's the only one
Just a
who
quick
usually
update.
gets in on, oh, yep.
So she's stating that she can hear us, but she's muted.
Let me see. This is aggravating.
Like a *6 or something like that. There's probably a keystroke that will unmute her, but I don't know what it is for GoToWebinar.
And she's stating that she's on the phone.
Okay, yeah, because the other thing too is she's not
Maybe
listed.
she called in as a participant, not as a panelist.
Well, I invited her as a, oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, then she'd be able to hear, but she wouldn't be able to talk.
Right.
She's able to call, but she's muted. I just put one thought on with regards to direction, and I'm almost wondering if we should try to all of us hang up and then come back and start from scratch.
it can't hurt since we're dead in the water here.
So let me just
I
give
don't
this.
see how that would help. I don't see how that would help because
That's not, does Beverly not have the software to, on her laptop
Okay.
to come in?
So she's basically saying that, and that's a good option, Millie. You can call me and put me on speakerphone. Why don't we do that so we can
Okay.
continue forward? We'll give it a shot.
It'll be recorded as long as your microphone picks up.
Okay.
Yeah, see the software acts differently if you're logged in on the computer or if you're on your phone. So, and I have much less control if you come in on your phone than if you come in on the actual app.
So I'm executing the phone call right now.
Hi, Millie.
Hey, Beverly.
Hi.
Can,
I don't know what happened. I lost connectivity and I can't get back in. And it says I'm muted, but I'm on the phone, so I'm not muted. It just dropped the call.
okay,
Okay.
got it. So,
All right. So let me hurry up now with the next agenda items. Can the board members hear me? And I can move
Yes.
forward. Okay. Very good. I heard that, Greg. All right. So item number 9 on the agenda, unpaid quarterly fees for October. There are 4 LSPs who have not paid those fees. Unpaid January 30th, 2022 quarterly fees. There are 4 LSPs who have not paid March 1st, 2022 unpaid annual fees. There are 125 LSPs who have not paid their annual fee yet. And this is as of March 3rd.
okay.
So those are pending. Item number 12, because I had connectivity issues again, last week we are rescheduling the exam committee meeting, and I wanted to do that right now. I know that the 16th was the best date for those who responded. Is there anyone else who can't make the 16th?
I think you should just move forward, Beverly. It sounds like there's been good reception for that date.
Okay, I'll send out an email. The next exam committee meeting is set for March 16th. Item number 13, the exam reviews. We had 7 folks who failed LSPs, and over the course of the past 2 weeks, I've conducted 4 exam reviews in 0. I do have 1. There were no exam challenges. There's 1 applicant who questioned the wording of a question, and I'll take that to the exam committee. 1 person missed an appointment. 1 person has decided not to review. So that's where we are with those items.
How many questions are being challenged, did you say?
I didn't say there was a challenge. I said there were no challenges. One applicant rather questioned the wording of a particular question.
Thank you.
And so I'll bring that before the exam committee so we can take a look at it and see whether or not the applicant has a point.
Sounds good, Beverly. Okay. So thank you for that. We are going to then move forward with agenda item number 14, which is the Continuing Education Committee report. If David, you'd be so kind as to provide us with a report from today's committee meeting.
Sure. We met today under old business. We got our act together so that we can get back to Enviro workshops on how they should resubmit their course requests. Under new business, we approved 4 different requests for webinars and on-demand courses. And we also approved the NUMOA conference, Brownsfield Summit in May. And we discussed a future meeting in person once DEP offices are open. And our next meeting, which will be virtual, is April 26th.
Okay. So David, seeing that we approved those items, we don't need to cast a vote on those approvals. I mean, it sounds like there were not recommendations, but rather approvals, correct?
We do, we
No,
need
we
to,
always have to vote on continuing education because it's not a separate, it's a subcommittee specifically identified initially as a subcommittee. So it has to be voted on by the whole board.
So it's really, there's a recommendation now for the board to take it forward as
I'm so glad you asked the question every month so that we can get that answer from Gail every single month.
Just making sure little words matter. So
motion
with
to accept the
that,
recommendations of the profession, of the continuing education committee.
Second.
Patrick? Approve?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes, approve.
Craig?
Yes.
Greg?
Yes.
Deb?
Yes,
Melissa, yes. Kathy? Kathy, are you there?
There I am. I needed to unmute. I'm a yes.
Thank you, Kathy. Kirk?
Yes.
Jamie?
Yeah.
David?
Yes.
And Gail?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries. Other business, we don't have any other business matters for discussion, do we, David? No, thank you. Professional Conduct Committee report out. Jamie, if you can just proceed with the report.
The only updates from today's committee were that we will be discussing 4 of the cases in executive session. There were otherwise no updates. Next meeting, April 26th. No action was taken that requires a vote.
Thank you for that. Other business, proposed regulation amendment 309 CMR 3.09. I know the board has been working hard to move forward with conversations and develop the new set of regs, the amendments to the regs. Beverly, if you don't mind talking a little bit about next steps as it pertains to the reg amendment.
We need to go through 309. I sent it out yesterday. I also sent Kathy suggestions. So that's what we need to review.
Thank you. Is there a, will you be sending us a date for getting together and move forward with the review?
I will do that.
Okay.
Yes,
Thank you.
I will schedule a date to do that.
Perfect. Thank you. Much appreciated.
Because there's still some questions. I think Kathy has, by the way, any other board members who want to submit anything can. But Kathy has submitted her suggested changes, and we do need to review those in addition to some of the highlighted sections and my draft. So you should have received yesterday 2 drafts, one from me and one from Kathy. So schedule a meeting to review those.
Great, thank you. All right.
Mr. Gibbons posted something. He just wanted to clarify, has the board made a final decision regarding the consideration of my petition today? I understand that the board may not have received it until yesterday, but I did follow the directions I received for consideration at today's meeting. Thanks.
We discussed how it's important for the board members to understand the circumstances and really do justice to your petition or request. And as board member David Austin stated, perhaps it would be most appropriate for us to really take the time and space to review it and act on it appropriately. So we are,
That's just my opinion. Other people didn't voice their opinion.
Mr. Gibbons, here's Mr. Gibbons. We will allow your license to remain active until the board has made a decision at its next meeting on your petition.
Okay.
Just to clarify, I actually read the letter. And
I actually was following up with after David spoke, but it was when we started losing the voice feed. I was suggesting there's only one page and there isn't a lot of information there, but I think it's adequate to discuss. But we're past that part of the meeting, and unless it sounds like Mr. Gibbons, obviously has a need for his license, but that may have been just solved by Beverly's statement.
Well, that's what we always do, Greg. Mr. DeCoulis, as a prime example, his license has not been acted on. It has remained active. It has not been lapsed or anything else. And now it will be fully active. But it's our practice until the board has made a decision to give LSPs who have petitions pending before it the benefit of the doubt. So Mr. Gibbons, again, your license will remain active until and when the board votes next month.
I do have one quick clarifying question about that, Beverly. I thought that the 90-day extension requests were typically administratively automatic.
They are administratively automatic, Jamie, but look at 3.06. You have to do that. You have to make the 90-day request for extension before your license expires.
Okay, that's exactly what I wanted to clarify. Thank you.
And the difference in this petition is that Mr. Gibbons did not request the 90-day extension until after his license had expired.
Got it. Thank you.
And can I just ask what happens if he gets all of his credits before we even hear the petition? How does that change
He already
things?
has all his credits, Gail.
Okay, all of them? I thought it was one short, but
Well, he has since.
sorry, half a credit short or something.
it sounds like we're discussing this now. Is that
Right?
I mean,
I just want to make sure he's okay. I just want to make sure that he will be okay, even if depending on what because we're going to be deciding in another month, and that would be after the 90 days. I think that's the reason I'm concerned.
but I think that's for discussion for our next meeting, since he's been given assurances that we will not act. I mean, it's the past practice not to act on anything until the board has full discussion. So I think message has been sent to Mr. Gibbons, and hopefully he heard that, and now we can continue to move forward with personnel, budget, and fees.
So I am going to post the positions, and this feeds into in posting the positions, the vacancies on the LSP board, I mean posting them for members outside of DEP. And with respect to item 16C, the trip, there's been nothing. And that's inside DEP. So we're going to have to move forward with posting the jobs outside of DEP.
Just to clarify, is it 2 positions, Beverly, or 3?
I don't know. I know it's 2, the general counsel, and you're talking about postings, right?
Correct.
Yes.
The external postings.
Yes. I know it's 2. I don't know whether or not I have approval for a full-time program coordinator, but we need one.
Yeah.
We need one. Barbara is doing double duty, and she's been doing it for 10 years, and she doesn't want to do it anymore. I mean, it's an additional, this position requires someone full town. So,
Absolutely.
we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. But to answer your question, there's been no, to move to the next item rather, there's been no response inside DEP for the trip request.
Well, I appreciate you discussing the trip with the commissioner. I think it was never meant to be a permanent fix, but at least something to get us a little bit of traction. But sounds like there's been no affirmative expression of interest by anyone from DEP. So the smart thing to do is just move forward with those positions. And as far as the number of positions, I can definitely speak. I'll speak for myself as a board member. You have my full support to move forward with this, and in fact actually plead the case for a third position. I think this board really would significantly benefit from having Joe Counsel, the investigator, and a PC. Thank you much, Beverly, for that.
You're welcome.
And now we can move forward with the public records request.
Yep, I think that I am done with the public records request, other than the one that Ms. Rundle just made today. I do have one outstanding public records request for executive session minutes. Mr. Wyman had requested executive session minutes. I know that there's only been one executive session held during the time that he made his request. I just have to find the minutes. I don't know whether they're at work or somewhere in the office, but they're, all the public records requests other than Mr. Wyman's request for executive minutes have been satisfied, have been produced rather. I've produced them all.
Thank you. I know that's a lot of work. Much appreciated. So with that, that takes us to item number 17, which is the future virtual meeting coming up. And our next meeting will be held on April 26, 2022, virtually, unless otherwise noted. And therefore,
Right before you adjourn, Mr. Gibbons just wanted me to make sure, he says the board member mentioned there was just one page to my petition. There was a two-page petition / cover letter plus all the renewal info required for an extension, plus a copy of my check. I just wanted to make sure the board sees the entire package when they consider it. So that was just his concern. He just wanted to make sure that you had all the information.
Yeah, I made that statement and I acknowledged that there were attachments. It was a one and a half page letter. There was a cover I was referring to. So
Okay,
I think we all received all the materials.
We do have the full package.
So sent it to me, to the board, to make sure that nothing was lost in translation or transition. Mr. Gibbons, you sent one attachment to the board with your petition, your check, and all of your renewal forms, and that entire document was sent to the board. So they have everything that you sent, every page of your petition and all of your renewal forms and your check.
okay, we're acknowledging that, Beverly. Thank you.
Really, I can make the motion to adjourn and go into executive session if you'd like.
Yeah, I'd like to close this meeting out formally, and I'm doing so by way of, so let's take a vote. And then we
Well,
close
I
it.
think we make the motion because it'll have both of them together.
Yep.
Okay,
So there
so
a second?
I move to adjourn from open session of the board to enter executive session to discuss certain pending cases. To have these discussions in open session could compromise the board's position.
Second.
Second,
With that, Patrick,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
Craig,
Yes.
Greg,
Yes.
Deb,
Yes,
Millie is a yes. Kathy,
Yes,
Kurt,
Yes.
Dana,
Yes.
David,
Yes.
Gail.
Yes.
Motion carries to hold an executive session. And with that, we are closing out this public portion of the meeting at 2:52 p.m. Thank you and see you in April.
So Chris, do
I'll
we
be
have to
back.
log in again?
I would suggest we do and see if we can all come back refreshed.
Yes, what I'm gonna do is, I'll send you everyone an automatic invite right now. So the link won't be shared, so nobody from the public can see it.
So Beverly, did you hear that? Did you capture that? That he's gonna,
No, it's breaking up. I'm sorry, I didn't.
okay,
Go ahead.
sure. So, Chris Borges just stated that he's gonna send a link to ensure that there's no one from the public availing themselves to the meeting and kind of refresh the whole system.
Okay.
Well,
See you in a minute.
you just called me back because I don't want to have the problem.
You
of-
got it.
You know what I'm saying? You
Okay.
can plug me in because
Yeah.
I want to make sure that, you know, respect everybody's time and not use it to try and get back in. So just when everybody gets back in, really you call me.
You got it. Thank you so much. All right.
Thank you.
See
So then
everyone in 5 minutes.
Yep. I'll give the invite, and you guys shall get it in the next minute or two.
Okay. See you soon. And I'll call you right back, Beverly.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye.